Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. This is Hour of Healing. I am your host, Candice. I'm here with Dr. Joe. As usual, we are here to discuss, continue actually what we started last week. That was the subtopic from our all time topic of what are you becoming? I hope you've been able to listen. If you have not, go check it out on our podcast. You can also find us on YouTube as well. Joe Deborah, Hour of Healing. How to become, right? So last week we focused on one of the how to's, right?
Yes.
So today we are going to finish the rest and conclude this whole series that we've been, diving into for the past couple of weeks. So we're excited for today. So Dr. Joe, welcome back in.
Thank you, Sister Candice.
I hope you're excited for today's discussion, actually, because
Yes, I'm eager.
we always kind of like set a time for ourselves and then before you know it, you will say it takes its course, right? We will say the Holy Spirit takes its course.
Yes.
So how do you become, right? If you want to give us the gist of it, and then we'll go on into the second and third and so on, ways of how we can be.
Yes, Sister Candice. So the one thing truly that I want to remind our audience of from all that we talked about last week, or the two things I want to remind them so we can dive in today is one, that at a point in your life, if truly you are going to become anything great, anything worthwhile, anything worth remembering, that your beliefs or convictions in life must be greater than your feelings.
Right.
That your belief about what you want to become must be greater than your feelings about what you want to become. Other than that, it becomes almost impossible for you to be able to become. And the other thing that I talked about when we talk about how you become is that there are certain cardinal things that must happen. I want our audience to know that everyone is becoming something.
True.
The earlier we accept this, get on board with it, and start making decisions so we become what we need to be, the better for us. Because everyone that you will follow in this life will train you not to become necessarily a better version of themselves, but more of what they already are.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to be more wicked,
Okay.
find a wicked person to follow. If
Hmm.
you want to be more generous or good or godly, find a godly person to follow. And so that is what I will give for background, Sister Candice, and then we can dive right in so we can finish up some of these things today.
All right, that's great. That's great. So I'm thinking about this, and because some people will say, "I know who they are. I know, how they are. Maybe this person is wicked, blah blah blah," but I'm just following them for their good side, right?
Mm,
um
mm, mm.
or like I know this man of God is great, but maybe they have a bad character, so I'm not
Mm.
putting the bad character, I'm just learning their spiritual aspect, right?
Yes,
In the corporate world, that they are great at organizing stuff or whatever,
correct.
that's what I'm learning, but they suck at dealing with people.
Mm,
So what I'm trying to actually ask or get across here is, can you follow someone and partially become them? Like,
mm,
if,
mm.
I don't know if you.
Powerful question. Very powerful question, Sister Candice. And our next point is actually what will answer this question. So, the next way we become is through access to knowledge. Access to knowledge. So, we say that what you don't know won't kill you, correct? Well, take it from me, dear audience, that as far as your destiny manifestation or your purpose actualization is concerned, what you don't know will kill you. Underline will. What you don't know in life will kill your destiny, will kill your potential. And so, why do I say that access to knowledge will answer the question that you asked? Because, Sister Candice, in access to knowledge, you will find that there are various types of knowledge, right? We have what we call common knowledge, that things that everybody ought to know. Like, there are 4 seasons in America. If you live in America and you don't know there are 4 seasons, you may not have a jacket when winter rolls around. But by the grace of God, all the shops and the stores will help you remember, because every season they will put the right outfit out for you, right? So those are like common knowledge that from time to time a person has to bathe. If you don't bathe, you will smell, you will stink, and you will not be able to fit into society, and you will become sick.
Right.
These are common knowledge. And then we have spiritual knowledge, right? Spiritual knowledge, I want our audience to understand, is not all godly. There are people with spiritual knowledge for wicked things. And we have people with spiritual knowledge that has nothing to do with God, like palm readers, for instance. People who practice divination. These are all spiritual knowledge. But the common or the simplest spiritual knowledge I want our audience to understand is that there is a spirit world and there is a physical world. If you don't appreciate that or understand that, you will be a victim of the spiritual world, because a lot of the things that happen in our life are influenced by things that happen in the spiritual realm. I mean, most countries, including our country, had elections not too long ago. And Sister Candace, 2 years ago, friends of mine who operate in the prophetic had told me certain things that will happen around our campaigning season and election season, that you will be shocked if I tell you how it actually unfolded. And so there's a spiritual world. That is what gives us the ability to be able to influence the future. The physical world doesn't influence the future, it's the spiritual world. So we need to understand that there is that knowledge, and there is that experiential knowledge. Experiential knowledge is what others call informed knowledge. So informed knowledge is what you have experienced, what you have been taught in school, what you have learned on the trade in your vocation. Those are things that you are not born with, and it's not common to everyone, but you acquire them if you put in the necessary work or effort and things like that. And so access to knowledge defines for you certain aspects of humanity. And it is in this access to knowledge that your question comes in. That informed knowledge will help you know certain traits of the people you are following, or certain character habits of the people you hope to be. And so it can absolutely happen in the right circumstance that you will be able to pick up the good of the person you are following if you have the right knowledge of that person. So, for instance, you are following someone who is very good at organization, but they have a terrible temper.
Right.
Knowledge, informed knowledge, will help you know that you don't need to have a bad temper to be good at organization.
Right.
Without that informed knowledge, the only way you will learn to become what they are is to have that bad temper. But informed knowledge will help you know that that is not a requirement for what you want to become that you see in them. So don't underestimate the power of knowledge when you are following. Because if you don't know this, you will think that the reason why a man of God is so powerful is because of their arrogant attitude or their prideful ways. Because, Sister Candace, let's be honest, a lot of our influential men and women of God are past the point of ego. They are proud.
Mm.
But the question is, do you need to be proud in order to exert or walk in that level of influence?
Right.
And by the integrity of scripture, I will submit to my audience that the answer is no. Because we have seen great men and women of God, great men and women in the business world who have exhibited or influenced the millions, but yet are some of the most humble people that you will ever meet. And so, when you sit down with informed knowledge, and in this case, spiritual knowledge, when it comes to the men and women of God, you will realize that being prideful or arrogant or greedy or boastful is not a requirement to having influence.
Mm.
So, without knowledge, how do you know that? It's very important, Sister Candace, when you read the book of Proverbs, when it talks about the fact that by wisdom a house is built, that without wisdom you cannot build anything.
Right.
And that actually is the third point that we will talk about, that you need wisdom in order to become, because you need wisdom to build. So, understanding establishes what wisdom builds.
Mm.
But next verse of that text, which is Proverbs 24, verse 4, it says that by knowledge, the rooms of this house that has already been built, that has already been established by wisdom and understanding, respectively, in order to fill those rooms in the house and make it pretty and make it valuable and make it attractive, you need knowledge. You
Mm.
need knowledge. And so, knowledge is
Mm-hmm.
what would define the parameters of what you have to draw out of the people you are following. And knowledge is what will help you, give you the boundaries for what you need to draw out in life in order to become.
Mm.
If you lack the knowledge, you can exert yourself to the point of harm.
Mm.
But knowledge will be that garden rails, that insulation that will help protect you from your own unbecoming.
So, but is this knowledge a knowledge based of the person you are following or knowledge in life? Like, what knowledge are we talking about here?
So I brought the person you are following to answer your question, that can you follow someone and
Partially be
yes, and partially become. But in your quest to becoming in life, you need knowledge.
general knowledge.
Yes, you need spiritual knowledge, you need common knowledge, and you need informed knowledge. If
Okay.
you don't have these three components,
Okay.
you cannot become, no
Mm.
matter what you are trying to become.
Okay. Okay. So that would be a lack, like you, if you lack in that
Yes,
area, it's not going
yes,
to help you to become.
yes,
The knowledge is really needed. So it's not so much about the
absolutely.
person you are following, but there
No,
are some fundamental knowledges that is expected or required of you to have before you can
yes,
become who you are following.
not just who you are following, but you can become who you need to become.
Mm, okay. Oh,
Because
right, right, right,
if your destiny is to be an aircraft engineer,
right, right,
and you don't have the common knowledge that anybody, whether male, female, regardless of where you were born, can become an aircraft engineer. That is common knowledge.
right,
If you don't have the spiritual knowledge to help you know that unassisted in life, men are limited, that no matter what you do in life, unassisted, there are levels of results that you can never attain. And then, if you don't have the informed knowledge that you will acquire through your education, through your internships, through your whatever it is, workmanships, and all those things, how do you become that aircraft engineer?
yeah, okay, okay.
So you need knowledge to be able to become who you have to become. But to answer your question, you can, through knowledge, become partially things of the people you are following.
No, well, that's good. That serves an advantage.
Yes,
Because, right,
yes.
right.
Knowledge is very powerful, Sister Candice, and it's very, very key.
That's good. Is there the next way of becoming?
Yes, so Candace, I briefly mentioned this in the previous one, so we will go ahead right away through it. That through wisdom, right? That wisdom is the principal thing. That you cannot build anything without wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
because wisdom is what will teach you to know that it's better to put a pillar here on the left rather than to put it in the middle. Because if you build a house without wisdom, by the time you are done, your pillars are just going to be all over the place. So I'm not even going to dwell too much on this. And please, dear audience, it's not because wisdom is not important, but because we talked about wisdom in the previous contest and also in other contests as well. When we were talking about leakages, we talked about wisdom for a long time. So I want us to be able to go through it. So the other way we become, that I want to spend some time on, is engaging principles. Engaging principles. And Sister Candace, this is massive. I want our audience to understand this in life, that because life is not just a random happening of things,
Mm-hmm.
there are principles that ought to be followed or that can be engaged in order to become.
Mm.
There is an intentionality in life, no matter how chaotic things look. Believe me, life is not a random happening of things. There is an orchestration to life. And with anything that has a method to it, science will teach us that if there is a method to anything, then there has to be a process.
Mm.
And that process is what I am describing to you as principles in life.
Mm.
For instance, there is the principle of sowing and reaping. If
Mm.
you don't sow in life,
Don't worry.
no matter what you do, you cannot reap. Whether spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
physically, in building your business, my dear entrepreneur want to be, if you don't sow hard work, if you don't sow sleepless nights, if you don't sow discipline, if you don't sow commitment to what you want to build, regardless of how much wisdom you have, if you don't sow, you won't reap.
Mm.
The other principle, for instance, is the principle of investment or giving. When we talk about investment, Sister Candace, from a worldly standard, one of the key ways you multiply what you have is to invest it.
Mm.
When you take money, one of the key ways to multiply money is to invest money. And
Mm-hmm.
so most corporations have what we call 401k.
Right.
What is a 401k? Is it just a number of? No, it's basically an investment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't invest, you don't multiply. When you come to the spiritual aspect of life, you will learn that another way that you multiply what you have in life is by giving.
Mm.
You give and it
You.
multiplies. And so the Bible will say that there is he that scattereth, but yet has more than the one who holds on to it.
Mm-hmm.
That in a biblical way,
Mm-hmm.
that the person who gives has more than the one who holds everything they have. These are principles, Sister Candace, that without them, you will not become.
Mm.
What about the principle of honor? That you honor men, you honor people. The person you want to become, or the position or the destiny or purpose that you have is a destiny that you need someone in order to fulfill. And
Mm,
if you don't honor the people who you need in order to actualize your destiny, you cannot become.
mhm,
And so you see why our fathers and mothers, or parents, I should say, emphasized respecting our elderly people so much when we were growing up. But in our time and in our generation, we think that is not important anymore.
mm,
We think we are all that. And so if you should take the attributes or the things that our parents taught us, Sister Candace, and you tell us to check off the ones that we want, we can, or we can afford to eliminate in our lives today when it comes to our need to become people of influence, or even our need to raise others. It will shock you that many people will cancel out respecting your elders
mm,
because they think that we know better than our elders.
mhm,
But remember, I have told you when we talked about number your days that age in itself has a lesson that it teaches us. That if you bypass the lesson that age has taught our fathers, you will be found wanting.
mm, mm,
So, Anna, it's also a principle we ought to engage. There are many principles. This is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of imagination. You can even talk about value and competence as principles. These are things that because life has an intentionality to it. If you bypass these things, my dear audience, you cannot become anything worth celebrating. What about humility?
mm.
We can just keep listing on and on and on. But I hope that our audience, with this little that I have shared, have realized the importance of engaging principles when it comes to our need or our attempt to becoming.
These are very I think they are the kind of things that we don't really take a heed to, or we don't pay
Mm,
attention to as something that is important, like humility, competence. Like, I mean, why do I really need that to become something, right? All I need is probably
mm,
get my degree, or like, just study the man's preaching,
mm,
or
mm.
so these principles these principles that Dr. Joe listed, I feel like in actuality though, they are the makeup of becoming, because if you miss them, it doesn't matter if you will follow but not truly become, because I think these
Exactly.
these principles will be the information you need as the knowledge base to help you to like kind of sift out what you should take from the one you are following and what you should
Mm,
not take from the one you are following. Because the
absolutely.
things you mentioned with humility, if you have these principles and you are engaging them in life, and you are following a man, he's so powerful, he's so good at what he's doing. Like, there's no business he can, put place that does not blossom, right? But then you look at the man and you're like, you don't see any of these principles in him. You know not to take certain things from them. Like the opposite of humility, you know not to take, right? So, and I think us not having time with ourselves, not trying to nurture these little things and these little principles in our life has breed out a whole massive or more people who are up there, but they don't have character, or they are up there and they are prideful. And for Gen Zs, like the early 20-year olds, the teenagers coming up, looking at that, all they see is, I need to become this to be able to be this. I need to be snappy in order to be a Beyonce, or
Mm.
I
And
need.
if I can this, it will shock our audience, but the truth really is that when those people were in their quest to become, they engaged these principles.
Mm,
It is only that we are seeing what they have become now that we are
don't leave the principle.
ignoring the principles that they engaged. Like, for instance, the business tycoon that you are seeing today,
Mm-hmm.
once upon a time was polishing the shoes of another business tycoon.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were not there, and
Yeah.
the only thing we see is the becoming and the arrogance and the pride, we think that we don't need humility.
To
We
be.
think that we don't need sowing to get to that level. But they sowed.
Mm-hmm.
They sowed.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, if you really want to take an advantage of any relationship you have in life, Sister Candace, one thing that I thank God that He has given me grace for is to seek what made the people that I look up to rather than what they are. That
Mm-hmm.
I am more intent on seeking out what made them.
Their
Because
beginning.
when every great person you know today, regardless of how arrogant or how greedy they are, at
Mm.
one point they were sowing, at one point they were honoring, at one point they were giving or investing.
Interesting. Interesting.
But when they have become,
They
most of
lose.
the time we don't see those virtues because they've already become.
Yeah.
And we copy wrong because we don't seek what made them, we seek what they are.
Wow. No. That's very powerful. That's very powerful. And I think too. I feel like for some, when I get there, I don't need the fundamental.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
don't need to do anything else. What
Yeah.
is there to achieve?
Yeah, what is there for me to be given? Why should I be humbling? Why should I be
Hmm.
sowing? Why should I be honoring? Because I'm here already, right? But I think these are principles that we can carry along with us. It should not be
Yes,
lost. So, listeners out there, this is hour of healing. We are healing our communities and our societies so that when you become great someday, you remember to keep these principles. Don't lose them.
absolutely.
So that the next
Absolutely.
generation coming that is looking at you will know that this is what it takes. I don't just have to be famous and that's it, or
Mm, mm.
rich and that's it. It's given a misconception of what greatness is, in my opinion, and it's affecting. Yeah.
There's a story. I'm trying to remember the details of it, but I think there was one great preacher who walked this earth. And he was so great that people even were to the point of worshiping him.
Mm,
But he will always resist that and he will always oppose that vehemently. And I heard in a documentary or a book, this is many years ago, that somebody was having a conversation with this man and they were asking him the secret to his longevity, that
okay.
why he remained relevant for so long but yet remained humble. And he told that person that one of the people who was closest to him, his whole job was that when they had gone for these massive crusades and had seen God moving and doing all these wonderful things, he will walk behind him and say, "You are only a man." That was the whole task of this person in his team.
Really?
That was the whole task. I don't remember who it is, but it's a story that either one of my mentors told me or I read many years ago, that
Wow.
they had a staff
Wow.
whose job, Sister Candice, was only to come to them at the point where everybody is clapping and hailing, and whether he is being introduced or he is leaving the platform and everybody is making noise and screaming, "We love you, we appreciate you," are passing out, and the things that we see today, that there was one person in his team that will walk up to him on the stage and whisper into his ears, "You are only a man. Don't
Hmm.
forget that. You are only a man." And that, he said, was his key or his secret to his longevity and maintaining these principles that we are sharing today. So it
Wow.
doesn't come easy. It's not
Wow.
that it will just happen.
It's
There has
intentionality, right?
Yes, there has to be that. Thank you for that word, intentionality. And remember, Mr. Candace, most of the time on this platform, we talk about being intentional about life.
Yes, yes. It's kind of like the gist of
Yes,
everything we talk
being
about.
intentional about life. Because at the end of the day, if you let life just happen to
No
you,
fool.
you will be a victim. I'm sorry, but that is the truth. Men are wicked, though. Men are wicked, Sister Candace. That I don't know.
Please,
Maybe one day I will spend time to talk about
the heart of
life and the heart of man.
is
As
desperately wicked. But
is man are wicked, Sister Candace.
the way Dr. Joe said it's like he has a personal experience.
Sister Candace, just this very moment,
Mhm.
as we were doing the first part of our recording, I had a text from a dear friend of mine who God has gifted with the grace to be able to conceive ideas and start things. As we were talking, he sent me a text just right now. And in the text, someone that needed help came to him to assist him. And he gave his business ideas to this person. Can you believe the person went for a contract, got a lot of money, and never mentioned it to this guy?
Wow.
And second is, if
I-
you just let life happen to you, you will regret ever being born.
yeah.
And that is why Job was so confused about his situation in the Bible, that he knew that he was a man of integrity, that he followed the right person who was God, that he had knowledge. Because when you read the Bible, you will find that the, the contemporaries of Job saw him as one of the wisest men to be alive. And they saw him to be diligent in his ways.
Mm,
And the last point that we will talk about, we haven't talked about it yet, but divine assistance or spiritual orchestrations. They knew that he was assisted by the divine. And so he himself could not understand why life should happen to him, because he knew that he had done everything to program his future.
mm,
And so when what happened to him happened, he couldn't understand. That's why he
mm.
told his wife, he said, don't be like the useless women out there. Because at the end of the day, you of all people should know
You know
that
who
we
I
have programmed our future, and the life that we have programmed, this is not part of it.
am. Mm-hmm.
And so, Zacchaeus, I'm going to say something that some of our audience might be offended by, but it's true, that the person who programs their life is not even at the mercy of the devil.
Mm.
That the devil cannot influence the person
Cool.
who, by engaging these things we are talking,
Mm-hmm.
has programmed their becoming.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that is why Job couldn't understand. He knew that it had to be something higher than the devil.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And so he cursed the day he was born, because maybe it was something that I did when I was born that I didn't know that
Right.
programmed this. Second, this the Bible is very fascinating, but there is wisdom in the Word of God,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
in becoming, in our attempt to become, we can use these things to program our future and know when something that we did not program happen.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
will know that it's not something that ought to happen.
That shouldn't have been part of the plan. Yeah.
And so the fifth point, right?
Yeah.
So the fifth point really ties into what I was talking about. And that is, in order to become,
Mm-hmm.
we need divine or spiritual assistance.
Okay.
We need divine or spiritual assistance. Because, Sister Candice, you will realize that there are certain things in life that
Mm-hmm.
does not just come out of us. When we talk about something like favor or increase, those don't just happen. Favor is something that is given. And so you will meet somebody that you've never done anything good for. And sometimes they may not even know who you are or what you are about. But because of that divine orchestration of favor upon your life,
Mm-hmm.
it causes them to want to help you.
Mm.
Don't kid yourself, my dear audience. We have talked about helpers a lot in life, but you will be mistaken if you think that the people who are helping you are helping you because nobody ever came to them for help.
Mm.
There
Mm.
are people who are giving you money as way of helping you, whose family members lack money.
Right.
This very moment that you are enjoying that help from them, there is divine orchestration, or there are spiritual orchestrations that causes us to be able to receive in places that others have been rejected. And oh yes, I pray that God gives me this grace every day.
And you too out there.
Because Sister Candace, the one who lives life thinking that everything they have accomplished is out of their own efforts is that same person who is on their way to falling and being disgraced and losing everything that they have ever gotten.
Mhm.
Because at some point in your life, the piper will come for their money. And it is at that moment that if you lack the awareness that you were assisted, that they will take everything they have given you. And
Mhm.
you will realize that the things that you were boasting of was truly not something of your making. And
Mhm.
so, Mr. Candice, for the sake of time, I want to end this here so that we'll be able to wrap up for our audience. I don't want to keep them as long as we did last week. But these are, I think we've listed 5 of the 6, but these are some of the ways that we become. How to become. These are the 5 ways that I will share with our audience for the sake of time.
Well, thank you, Dr. Joe. We're not trying to keep you guys long for today. I mean, for this week, actually. Just be sure to go listen to where we started from,
Mhm.
because it all comes down to here. You can listen to this and benefit, but it will be more beneficial to you, your life, if you start from where we started. I think it's been, what, 4
Yes,
episodes, series
correct.
episodes, right? Yeah, so it's been a month that we've went through this. Yes.
Mm,
So yeah, just how are you becoming? And this is very important because, of course, you are becoming something. You know,
yes.
you are becoming something, but I think we have to also think about the choice you have. And Dr. Joe alluded on this earlier. The choice you have, you can make a choice, you can
Mm,
make a decision. And he says something just now, that a person who has programmed their life, even the devil cannot destroy it, or the devil cannot stand against it, like in Job's situation. So you have a choice to be able to make a decision of becoming someone that you want to be, someone better for yourself, your family, your society.
mm,
And
mm.
in that choice that you have made, um be stick to it. you know
Yes.
Find the right people to follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And listen to this over and over again with the principles. See who they are, right? And it will help us, because sometimes some people feel like, I don't have that choice. This is the life I've been given. This is
Mm,
the family I was
mm.
born in, so this is it. Like, and
Leakages.
Job. Speaking of Job, he said something. He said, when I was coming, I had nothing, or
Yes.
right. And that's one of the things that I sometimes think about to keep me in line. You have a family, you have friends, you have people around you, but you always have to remember that your life is your life. The
Yes.
decisions you make is for you. You can either mess it up or not. You can't just say, I'm enjoying my mom's inheritance, or I'm just letting. No, make a decision to make life for yourself. Even with the
Mm,
children you have, they have a choice to make life for themselves that Whatever affected you will not be able to affect them. And there are even some genetic diseases that some people take, they realize, okay, this is in my family, but my bloodline or whatever. They make a choice. They take
Yes,
precautions
absolutely.
against it. And that the thing that we all feel like we can't run from, they run from it. Or
Yes.
they escape it because of a choice. So this is hour of healing. You have that power. You have that choice. All right. And that is the amazing thing that God has given to all humanity, Christian or not. There is a certain level of power that God has given to everyone to write their story. Okay. And we
Absolutely.
want you to write the right story.
Mm.
Right. Write the right story for yourself, for your life, and your family. And I know the world will be a better place. Our societies and our communities will be healed. So I'll give
Mhm.
it back to Dr. Joe as he wraps us up for today.
Yes, Sister Candice, thank you so much for that powerful, powerful conclusion. I think you have said it all. The only thing that I probably will add to our audience is something that I intended to say in the last section, but it went just too long, and so I kind of skipped over that. And that is, in this life, in our becoming, we have to always ask ourselves, is the success that we are attaining good success? There is such a thing as good success and success. Everyone can have success in certain things or at certain levels. But if you truly want to enjoy good success, then you must become. The one who has become is the one that, when all is said and done, we can vet and see that this person had good success. And that entails or comes with some of these things that we have talked about with you over the last 2 weeks, whether it be in following, accessing knowledge, or through wisdom, or engaging principles, or being in tune or aware of the fact that there are spiritual and divine orchestrations that bring men into the position of becoming. Because at the end of the day, if you understand and know that you were assisted to have your good success, then you are able to remain humble. Then you are able to also invest in others
Other
to be
people
a good influence. And
important to
so,
them.
audience, don't underestimate the power of the choice you have in this matter. I will conclude by going back to what I said in the beginning of this 4-week conversation, and that is, whether you like it or not, every decision and choice you make in life is fueled by what is driving you, or every decision or choice you make is fueled by what you are driven to become. And so, if you don't know what you are becoming, then you are becoming what somebody else is driving you to be. You are always on this journey of becoming. We thank you so much for taking the time to follow us each and every week. We pray that God, in His wisdom, will take the words that we give you and help you and use them to sustain you in the time of you being weary or weak or sick or even tired. We will see you same time next week as we bring you another life-changing and thought-provoking conversation. Again, this has been Hour of Healing. We will see you same time next week. Bye-bye.